See, web service architecture here. Okay, web service specification as suggested mainly, just read it, 6 components to provide communication between two interoperable applications. So what are those 6 components here is, one is WSDL, skeleton, UDI registry, stub, SOAP and HTTP protocol here. So each responsibility as a developer you should know. What is WSDL, what is SOAP, what is HTTP protocol here. Okay, fine. So what are the responsibilities of the HTTP protocol in web service architecture? It will move the SOAP request from client location to the service location, and it will move the SOAP response from service location to the client location here. So what is the responsibility of the SOAP in the web service architecture? SOAP is a protocol. I will tell you, SOAP is a protocol, and these tags used by the stubs and skeleton to prepare SOAP request and SOAP response here. I can say that, listen, normal in the people will use this terminology. SOAP is a messaging protocol. SOAP is a messaging protocol here. Why we can say that it's a messaging protocol? To prepare the messages here. In our web service architecture, SOAP request is a one message, SOAP response is a one messages here. SOAP is a one protocol. Messaging protocol we can say that here, to prepare the messagings here. That is SOAP request and SOAP response here. In the interview, this is very important point here. What are the protocols are used in the web services? What are the protocols are used in the web services? One is SOAP, it's a messaging protocol, and HTTP here. I can say that one more point. SOAP over the HTTP. SOAP over the HTTP here. So who is moving your SOAP? HTTP here. I can say that SOAP over the HTTP protocol here. Understood this point? Okay. So now here HTTP protocol, and I have given a lot of points for each one here. WSDL. So WSDL is XML file, and it should be generated by the service provider by using what? WSDL generation tool. All the points I have given here. To generate WSDL file, service provider will use WSDL generation tool. It's very neatly explained. You can easily understand all the points here. Coming to the UDI registry, service will use UDI registry to share WSDL file to the client. It is an optional component in the web service architecture, because why? Tell me. Because client can share WSDL to the client through an email attachment here. So now stub is a what? Generated class or not? So all the points I have given here. SOAP. SOAP is a protocol which contains set of predefined XML documents here, XML tags here. HTTP, skeleton. Right. Understood? Fine. So the next one is, we will talk about this APIs here now. Simple. See, listen. Okay. So now I want to develop this web services using Java. I'm a Java developer. I want to develop this web services using Java. Same way, I'm developing this application using Java. Meaning client is also I want to develop using Java. Right? So first we will, as a Java developer, you should understand how to develop the web services and how to develop the web service client. Why? Because sometimes you will consume the services. Sometimes you are acting as a service provider here. So in both the times, you need to understand how you will create the web services using Java and how you will create the web services client using Java language here. Okay, fine. Okay, we will discuss about that part now. Coming to this part. Now tell me, as a web service developer, what you will do? You will create this Java file. Am I right or not? Java file. But it's a predefined class. Which one? Skeleton. And it is also predefined classes here. Right? And after, okay. So then we need to create one XML document, and then we need to create web.xml document also. So if I follow these steps, I can say that I have developed the web services here. Fine. So now, as we discussed, this is a predefined class. These are two of the predefined classes here. So somebody will give this predefined class or not? Yes or no? So if you develop this web services using Java, Sun should provide these two predefined classes here. Who will provide it here? Sun Microsystem here. Understood? If it is C++, C++ should provide this 2 classes here. If it is .NET, .NET should provide these 2 classes here. If it is Android, Android should provide these 2 classes here. Clear or not? So meaning what? If I have these 2 classes, I can easily develop my web services here. Clear? Okay. So how Sun Microsystem should provide these classes here? Using API. We can say that API. API means what? Set of interfaces and classes or not? Together we can call it a API here. So Sun should provide API which contains the visual generation tool and the skeleton here. That API we can call as a Java Web Service API here. Why we can say that it's a Java Web Service API here? Using that API we can develop the web services using Java. Same way Microsoft is also should provide some API or not, which contains again visual generation tool and the skeleton. Sir, why these many APIs? One API can used by the Java, something like this. Why? Because if Sun has provided these 2 classes, these 2 classes are Java classes. Understand? It means what? That API contains these 2 classes, Java classes here. If it is C++, these 2 are the C++ classes here. I hope you understood here. Okay, that's why we have many APIs are there here. So Sun has given Microsoft, PHP, Android, different are there here. Okay, right. So this API. So Sun has provided all these classes in the form of API. That API called as a Java Web Service API here. So how Sun has provided these APIs? In the form of jar files. How you will get the class files? In the form of jar files, right? So you will get that class file, jar files here. Meaning what? If you want to develop the web service using Java, skeleton they will provide in the form of jar file, and this one is also they will provide in the form of jar file here. That jar files you can copy in your web application lib folder. Understand or not? Same way coming to the client side. Coming to the client side here. So to develop the web service client, what is the main thing you require? Tell me. Stub. If I have stub generation tool, I can easily develop my web services here. I told you stub generation tool is again it's a predefined class. Am I right or not? So who will provide this predefined class? If I am developing this web services using Java, Sun Microsystem should provide this class here. If it is C++, C++ should provide. If it is .NET, same way here. Like. Now Sun has provided one API which contains these classes as well as these classes also. So what I am trying to say is, Sun has provided one API. Using that API you can develop the web services as well as the web service client. Why? Because stub generation 2 is also available in that API here. So you should understand one point here is, we don't have separate APIs for to develop the web service and the web service client. Service client here. We have only one API which contains the skeleton, visual generation tool and the stub generation tool here. So using that API we can develop the web service as well as the web service client. Not only the Sun, all the other vendors like Microsoft, Android, all these people also they are providing APIs which contains both. So using that API we can develop the web service as well as the web service client here. I hope you understood here. Okay, but unfortunately I told you Sun has given some API here. Sun has given some API here. So what is the API name they are given here? Sun has given total 4 APIs are there. How many? 4 APIs are there. One is, listen, JAX RPC API name. So using this API you can develop both web service as well as the what? Web service client. You can say that web service client here. JAX RPC. Next one is JAX M. Next one is the JAX WS. Last one is the JAX RS here. Maybe again you have one question. Sir, one API is enough to develop the web service and web service client here. Again we have some low level requirements are there here. Understood? Definitely we will discuss what are the difference between these APIs also we will discuss here. Right? As a Java developer, I don't want to know what are the APIs are given by the Microsoft. Developer should know about that APIs here. Same way, as a Java developer, I don't want to know about the Android web service APIs here. Why? Because I am not developing any web service and web service client using Android. I am a Java developer. I can develop the web service and web service client using Java, so that I should know about this APIs here. So can I say that these APIs are called as a Java web service API? Am I right or not? Java web service API here. So using these APIs, you can develop both web service and web service client. Meaning what? Using JAX RPC, you can develop web service as well as the web service client. Same way, this one and this one here. Understand? Okay. So now these APIs contains these classes here, but unfortunately these APIs are called as specifications here. What is that? Specifications here. You know specifications, right? Specification contains only interfaces here. Meaning what? These APIs contains only interface for this, not implementation, and interface for this skeleton also here, and interface for the stub also here. Using interfaces we can't do anything, right? Definitely we should have implementation classes or not. So for JAX RPC we should have one implementation. Am I right? For JAX-M we should have one implementation. That implementations only we can use to develop the either web service or web service client here. Same way for the JAX WS and XML. So I can say that these are the Java web service specifications here. Java web service specifications here. So using the specifications directly you cannot develop the web service or web service client here. So what are the implementations? So we should know the implementations here. Okay, fine. So for JAX RPC, just let me remove this. For JAX RPC, we have so many implementations are there. Okay. For JAX-M, we have so many implementations are there. JAX-M, JAX WS, and the last one is the JAX RS here. Okay. Before going to the implementations, just I want to discuss some more points about these specifications here. So the JAX RPC full form is Java API for XML. What is that? JAX full form is Java API for XML. RPC means remote procedure call. Remote procedure call here. Again, what is the full form for this? Java API for XML. M means what? Messaging. M means what? Messaging here. This one, Java API for XML. WS means web services here. Web services here. And Java API for XML. RS means what? RESTful services here. Understood or not? Fine. So why these many APIs are there? Why is these many APIs are there here? Actually, we have two types of web services we can develop. How many types here? Two types here. One is synchronous web services, another one is the asynchronous web services here. Synchronous and asynchronous here. What is synchronous and asynchronous? No, I will tell you. Let us say I am acting as a web service here. So some client invoking my service here. So if when our client makes a request to the service, if client processing that client request, if service processing that client request, and if it is provides immediate response to the client, that web service is called as a synchronous web services here. So when our client makes a request, client will wait for the service response. Meaning what? Service immediately will provide the response to the client here. That is called a synchronous web service here. What is asynchronous web services? No. When our client makes a request, client will service provider will take some time to provide the response back to the client. So meanwhile, client will never wait for the service response. He can do his work here. Understood? So we can develop two types of web services here. One is synchronous web service and asynchronous web services. To develop the synchronous web services, we will use these three APIs here. Example I will give you. Okay. So using these three APIs, we can develop the asynchronous web services here. Okay, asynchronous web services here. And now here, coming to this JAX-M, to develop the asynchronous web services, we will use the JAX-M here, Java API for XML here. But in web services, we will never develop the asynchronous services. We will develop only synchronous services only here. No sir, but still I want to go for the asynchronous services. In asynchronous services, we will use the JMS, one excellent API called what? Java Messaging Services, which is given by the Sun here. Understood or not? Fine. So that's why nobody will discuss about the JAX-M. Even some of the people doesn't know we have one API called JAX-M, which is used to develop the asynchronous web services here. We will always develop the only synchronous web service. That is, we will discuss these three APIs here. Understood? Okay. So this is about the right. So you are asking some examples, right? Let us say, assuming here, so I'm a third party vendor. So what is my job now? I will collect the documents. I will collect the documents and I somewhere. Let us say I'm having one application called document management system. Okay, so I will maintain some storage here. So what people will do normally, let us say if you take ICICI Bank, SBI having lot of documents, right? Why? Because they are having lot of personal banking customers, loan customers. We have different customers here. So definitely we should have some hard copies or not. Hard copies means what? They will do the scanning and they will store it here. So what ICICI Bank people will do, they don't have that much storage. What they will do, they will give that, they will give that storage assignment to some third party vendor like me. So what I will do is, I will maintain those documents here. So whenever they want, I will give you that document to you. Understand? Like we have some AXA Core, it's a one company, AXA Core. It will maintain all these documents here. So let us say I am developing one document management application here. What you people will do, I have lot of vendors are there, like ICICI Bank, SBI, different vendors are there. What they will do, they will send some documents here, right? So let us say if myself is a synchronous services, it will take a lot of time to process each request here. What they will do, they will store that documents in one location, one shared location. I will take the documents and I will store it here. Because in that case, they are not waiting for my response. They will store it and I will take the documents and I will store it somewhere here. In that cases, we can use this asynchronous services here. Understood? Okay. So these are the synchronous services. To develop the synchronous web services, we can use JAX RPC, JAX WS and JAX RS here. Okay, right. So actually JAX RPC introduced, listen. So JAX RPC means what? It's an API. It's a specification which contains this visual generation tool, interfaces for the skeleton, visual generation tool here. Actually this API is part of the JDK 1.4, meaning what? They are not given separate as a jar files. It's part of the JDK 1.4 here. This one is part of the JDK 1.5, this API. And this API is part of the JDK 1.6 here. And this API is also part of the 1.4 here. So we don't want to talk about this one. Just I want to put it here. Understand? To develop the synchronous web services, we will use these three services here. Again, synchronous web service has divided two types. Synchronous web service divided two types. One is SOAP-based web services, and the next one is the RESTful web services here. SOAP web services and RESTful web services here. To develop the SOAP-based web services, we will use these two APIs here. To develop the SOAP-based web service, we will use these two APIs. To develop the RESTful web services, we will use this JAX RS here. Meaning what? To develop the SOAP-based web services, we have two APIs are there. One is JAX RPC and JAX WS. Which one is the latest one? JAX WS here. Meaning what? We should have some drawback with the JAX RPC. Then only we have this JAX WS. So what is the drawback and what is the difference between the JAX RPC and JAX WS, I will tell you later. Understand? And coming to the JAX RS here, JAX RS is used for develop the RESTful web services here. How many APIs we have to develop the RESTful web services? We have only one, that is JAX RS here. How many APIs we have for to develop the JAX, the SOAP based web services? Two, one is JAX RPC and JAX WS here. Okay, so we have some set of drawbacks with the JAX RPC here. Nowadays nobody will use this JAX RPC here, but already some web services are already developed using JAX RPC. Still, if they want to maintain, they can maintain here. But if you want to develop this scratch level SOAP based web services, we will go for the JAX SOAP based web services, JAX WS here. Okay, fine. So fine. So now I told you these are the specifications here. Using specifications we can't do anything here. We should have implementations or not. So what are the implementations for the JAX RPC? What are the implementations for the JAX WS and what are the implementations for the JAX RS? We will discuss now here. Right. So now we have so many implementations are there for the JAX RPC. One is JAX, listen, JAX RPC SI. JAX RPC SI. SI means Sun implementation. SI means what? Sun implementation. The full form is what? Java API for XML remote procedure called SI means what? Sun implementation, which is given by the again Sun Microsystem. Understood? Implementation classes, specification implementation here. Implementation means they are given some, again it's an API or not, but this API it's not part of the JDK. Which implementation? This implementation. They are given this implementation in the separate jars here. Meaning what? If you want to develop the web services using JAX RPC SI, you need this skeleton or not? You need this visual generation tool or not? That is available in this implementation or not? They are given this implementation in the form of jar files or not? Now you need to download that jars and you need to copy that jars into your WebINF lib directory here. Understood or not? It's not part of the JDK here. Okay, and the next one is Access 1. Access 1, which is given by the Apache Foundation. Who is given this? Apache Foundation here. This is the third party implementation. Third party implementation means what? Again they will give a separate jar files again. Correct or not? Right. In addition to these implementations, some server providers also like WebLogic, WebSphere, these providers also has provided the implementations here. Okay, so WebLogic has provided the implementation for the Access 1. I'm sorry, JAX RPC. Understood? And WebSphere is also has provided the implementation for the JAX RPC, and even JBoss is also has provided the implementation for the JAX RPC here. Understood or not? Right. So these implementation came along with the server itself. WebLogic implementation came along with the WebLogic. Means what? That implementation classes are available in the server itself. Server is also contains some set of jar files or not? So this implementation is part of the WebLogic implementation is part of the WebLogic server. JBoss implementation is part of the JBoss server. WebSphere implementation is part of the WebSphere. So what is the meaning of that? Let us, if you develop the web services using WebLogic implementation, that web services you need to deploy only onto the WebLogic. Why? Because that jars are available in the WebLogic. They are not given provision to download that jars because it's part of the WebLogic here. But these people, they are given provision to download the jars. Understood or not? See, these two implementations are called as a server independent implementations. These three implementations are called as a server dependent implementations. Why server independent implementation? What is server dependent implementation? I will tell you here. If you develop the web services using any one of this implementation, you can deploy that web service onto the any server. Why? Because if you develop these web services, you can download these jar files or not. That jar files you can copy into WebINF, so you can deploy it onto the any server here. But these implementations are called server dependent. Why? If you develop the web services using WebLogic implementation, you can deploy only onto the WebLogic server. Why? Because that jar files are available in only the WebLogic here. Those jars are not available in the some other server here. Understood or not? But nobody will use these implementations here. People will go for this one or this one here. Understood? Now coming to the JAX WS here. JAX WS is also having lot of implementations here. Okay. So lot of people will saying that, okay boss, which API you are using to develop the web services? People saying that JAX RPC. Don't say JAX RPC. JAX RPC is a what? Specification. You should tell that whether you are using Sun implementation or Access One implementation or all these implementation, any one of these implementations. But people, they don't know, they will say that RPC implementation. It's not a meaningless, it's not a meaning, right? Correct. So now coming to the JAX WS here. JAX WS having lot of implementation. One is, listen, JAX WS RI. It is given by the Sun Microsystem. Who is given the Access One? Apache. Good. Okay. This one? Sun. Okay. JAX WS RI. This is given by the Sun implementation. You know the full form of the JAX WS, right? Java API for XML web services. RI means what? Reference implementation. Reference implementation. And who is given this? Sun Microsystem here. And the next one is JAX, not JAX, Metro implementation. What is that? Metro. Metro is also given by the Sun. Why Sun has given two implementation, we will discuss now. One implementation is enough, right? Right. And now coming to the, we have one implementation called Access 2 from the Apache. Next one is Apache CXF. What is that? Apache CXF. It is also given by the, why Apache CXF? Apache given two implemented, that we will discuss. In addition to this, we have server specific implementations also there. What are that? WebLogic, WebSphere, JBoss, and the Glassfish is also there. You know who is given the Glassfish? Sun only. Now it is Oracle, right? Now it is Oracle. Glassfish is given by the Sun. Again, internally Sun uses the Metro implementation only here. Understood or not? Okay, fine. So not required to discuss about this implementation much. We'll discuss about these implementations here, right? Okay. So why Sun has given these two implementations? Why not one? Why Apache has given two implementation here, right? So normally when you develop the specification, some third-party vendors will provide the implementations or not. For providing implementations by the third-party vendors, as a specification provider, you need to provide some reference implementation. You know reference implementation? Some blueprint, I can say that. It's a template, I can say that. That is called as a JAX WSRI here. Meaning what? It's a reference implementation. It's not for developing the enterprise web services here. Understood or not? But meaning what? It doesn't have the full features of the web services here. Understood? It's a reference implementation. Now coming to the Metro. Metro is the fully implementation of the JAX WS here. Now it is eligible from the Sun Microsystem to develop the enterprise web services here. Understood or not? So why? That's why Sun has given two implementations here. So we can also develop using web services using this, but it's a partial implementation for the JAX WS here. It's not used for to develop the enterprise level web services here. And Metro. Coming to the difference between the Access 2 and Apache CXF here. So why Apache has given two implementations? No, Access 2, listen, Access 2 doesn't have the Spring integration. You know Spring, I will tell you, flavor of Spring. But here Apache CXF supports the Spring integration here. Listen, I think you know the Spring. 3 people? Don't know? Okay. So Spring having some separate features here. Features, I can say that, features. If you want to use that features in your services, Apache CXF will support, like Spring IOC. You have the different Spring security, different features are there. So additional flavors, I can say that here, right? So simply Access 2 doesn't support the Spring integration. Apache CXF will support the, that's it. Okay. So remaining implementation, you know that here. Clear? So which one is the most used implementation? No, Apache CXF here. Why? Because it supports the Spring. So everywhere we are using Spring now here. Understood? So that's why. See it. Clear? Okay, great. So the next one is JAX RS here. So what are the implementations we have for the JAX RS here? So listen. We have, yes, we have so many implementations are there. One is Jersey implementation. It's from Sun. Okay. Next one is Rest Easy. Rest Easy. This is from Red Hat. You know Red Hat, right? JBoss, all these things. Hibernate, this came from Red Hat. Rest Easy. Rest Easy. Next one is RESTlet. This is given by one developer called Jeremy Lowell. Jeremy Lowell. Okay. Next one is Jersey, Rest Easy, RESTlet. Apache Wink, WINK. This is given by the Apache Foundation. One more implementation called Apache CXF. Don't confuse here. So Apache CXF, using Apache CXF, you can develop the SOAP-based web service and as well as the RESTful web services also here. So now you know the difference between these again. Apache Wink from the Apache. Apache CXF is also from Apache. Apache Wink doesn't support the Spring integration. Apache CXF supports the integration here. Spring integration here. And anyway, you know this here. Jersey is given by the Sun Microsystem. Mostly used implementations are Jersey and again Apache CXF only here. Even Rest Easy also supports the Spring integration here. Understood? These many implementations we have here. Okay, fine. In our sessions, we will develop the web service and web service client here. So using all the implementations here. So what are the implementations we will use? Okay, next to develop the web service and web service class, I will discuss here. So this is already told you, it's a legacy one here. We'll use one implementation to develop the web services here. From JAX RPs, I will use this implementation. And from JAX WS, I will use these 4 implementations. Mainly I will concentration here. I will tell you Spring integration and everything here. Maven, I mean, I will explain separately Maven. Okay. Yeah, I will explain in the Eclipse here, all these things. Maven also I will explain one project here. Don't worry. Okay. Maven. This one. And coming to this one here, this one and I will discuss, and Apache CXF also I will discuss here. Okay, fine. So this one, I mean all these web services, I will explain all these things in the Eclipse. Okay, in the Eclipse, I will tell you without taking the help of the Eclipse, with the help of the Eclipse also I will discuss both the things. What helping I will discuss later here. Okay, so fine, all these examples I will discuss in the services here. Okay, security, all these things I will discuss in the here Apache CXF here, the SOAP based web services, and RESTful web service security I will discuss in the Apache CXF here. Okay, so we'll take 5 minutes break and we will continue. Okay, so when we will come back, we'll discuss about this Access 1 implementation here. Then fine. Okay, thanks. So okay, 1 second, 1 second. So just let me I want to explain these notes up to here, 2 minutes. Then we will take the break. See, Skeleton, everything you know that. And next one is the Java Web Service API. How many APIs are there? 4. Correct? And then we have two types of web services, synchronous web services and asynchronous web services. We discussed all the points. Synchronous web services, to develop the synchronous web services, these many APIs are there, and to develop asynchronous web service we have here. Okay, then again synchronous web service has different two types. One is RESTful web services. So what is I have explained these points here. RPC, JAX-WS implementations. These are the implementation for JAX RPC. These are the implementations for the again we have, I have given this point here. Here JAX RPC, SI and XS1 are the container independent. All the points I have explained here. Okay. JAX RS here, Jersey, RESTG, RESTlet, Apache Wink and Apache XF, and I have given the differences here. Okay, now first we will discuss about the XS1 implementation here. After taking the break we will discuss that here.